Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Light of Insight. I'm your host, Nina, and today I have a very wonderful, special, wise, powerful, so in her feminine radiance. I can just say so many wonderful things about this human being. And I've also had her on the podcast before, and I'd love to introduce Pia, who is an intuitive coach and biohacking witch who supports women in remembering their cyclical nature, embodied wisdom, and the lost art of sacred pleasure. So let's give a warm welcome to the beautiful Pia. Welcome to the Light of Insight.
Thank you, Nina, so much for having me today. It is, as I said before, a true honor. I was so excited when you reached out again and told me that you would like to have me on your podcast one more time. And yeah, just having the possibility to talk to you today and dive into some really exciting topics. I'm really looking forward to that.
Honestly, I'm really excited to just lead this conversation with honesty and an open heart and to really learn from you because you've been, it sounds like, on this deeper journey the past year to really learn and grow from. First, it sounds like your roots. I really want to get into also learning more about your background. And this, the first question I have is based off of an article that you published in Substack, which is also on your new incredible platform called the Biohacking Witch. And you shared about learning more about your ancestral wisdom and your roots and the power of various sacred rituals. And I just would love to set the tone. Like, can you please share a little bit about your background and how that informs your own journey into healing and growth and just reclaiming and remembering your essence?
Yeah, you're totally right. Like we spoke a little bit about it before we started this recording over the last year. It felt almost like I've been a little bit like MIA from the online world. And I really felt a deep, deep urge to connect to my roots. And so I come from the Italian Alps. They are becoming very hype and cool on Instagram lately. So some people might have seen some pictures here and there. Otherwise, if you want to look it up, you see that it's like a beautiful nature mountain area where to some degree it can still feel like time has stopped or at least goes much slower than what I experience it now and like living in cities or have been living in cities all over the world over the last 10 years. To give you like a little bit of an insight, it has been like a real, real journey because since I am 18, I've been traveling. So the last decade, I was always on the go. Yes, I did return home here and there for a few months, but I was always leaving. And it was never hard to leave, it was only hard to stay. And for me, it always felt like deep, deep down, I knew that I am not traveling in order to explore new countries or explore new cultures. That was a very positive and beautiful side effect of my journey. But I knew that I was like running from something. I knew that I was leaving because I simply could not stay where I was. And I never fully was able to like point it down of like why I felt such a love-hate relationship with this village that I grew up in. Because really, like in all my traveling, I do not think I have seen a more beautiful place. I do not think that there is really like a similar nature landscape, and it truly is very special. But so over the last year, I just like felt so unrooted and so disconnected that I was like, I need to dive in from where I come from. Want to dive in where my lineage comes from because also like my family and like generation for generation, we truly come from the same place. So it's okay. There is so much history, so much ancestral history, and so as I was like diving in more, of course, like I knew from already the childhood and all the legends and the folklore and everything that I've been like raised and surrounded by, that the place is full of magic, that there is stories and legends of witches and warlocks. And all kinds of like little fairies. Like I grew up building fairy houses in the forests and making little bridges on the river so that they could like walk over. And then if you will go to the forest and you will find, like the houses that maybe other kids or fairies were living or, like building. It was always so special because it really felt like, oh, there's a presence around the trees. There's a presence, there is something that we cannot see, but there is something behind. There is more. And the more I was like diving in, I realized that behind all this beautiful folklore, there is a lot of real truth behind it. So I was aware about it before, but I never actually dove into it. That in our village, in the area around it, there has been witch trials. So there has been in like 1505, around that time, 1505 to 1509, around that, there has been like brutal witch trials where more than 30 women and men have been sentenced to death for changing the weather or for, like all different reasons of like why they have been accused of witchcraft. And the more I dived in, the more interesting it truly became, because it just showed me that no one really talks about it. Nowadays, we use the symbol of the witch as a tourist attraction in our village, in our area, with all the legends of the folklore to make it something interesting and fun and cute for the kids to play. When in reality, it is based on a really painful truth that has been there for many generations and that has been taking away the knowledge and the wisdom that used to be passed on from midwives, grandmothers, it always has been like the women inside of the lineage that are the wisdom keepers. There is a lot of knowledge that has simply been lost. And I feel like right now there is still the generation of my mother and like the one of my grandmother where they are way more connected. It's like one generation can have such a loss in knowledge. The moment technology comes in, the moment we rather watch TV than play outside, that we no longer want to learn those things. Like my mom, that still she has such a deep knowledge of herbs. Like she goes outside while she walks the dog and she's picking up stuff here and picking stuff up there. It's like, there you can make a tea when you're on your period. There you can do this. And she brings them home and she dries them and she prepares them for me. So I grew up with knowing those plants, but at the same time, over the last decade, I fully disconnected from all of it. And I used to make fun and be like, like you, my aunts, all of you, back in the days, you would have been burned as witches. Mm. But in reality, that I was meant as a joke, but simply is the truth. And so over the last year, I went on a journey to really connect to all of this before it would get lost. Because if I don't learn it from my mother, how should I teach it my future children? So then it will be lost with me.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much for sharing this, Pia. I'm so curious, what was that initial first step in learning more about your roots, your powerful maternal lineage? What was that first step?
Well, the first step was just understanding that there is a connection that I'm deeply, deeply craving, and just sitting with myself and trying to understand what kind of connection that actually is. And I could just feel it, like when you sit and it's like down on the root chakra and like my womb. And it's just like when I was sitting in meditation, when I was really like listening to myself, it was like it was screaming for home. But I didn't know where that was. I couldn't place it. I couldn't feel it. And so I was like, because now I live in Portugal and I want to stay and build a home here for myself. But still, it felt like I need to reconnect to my ancestral home, the one that I grew up in, before I can choose to build a new one for my new family. So, yeah.
Love that so much. Just first recognizing that you needed this deeper connection with your roots. And I'm now so curious because you touched on this reality that technology really does sometimes get in the way of us connecting with our ancestry, our wisdom passed on from maternal or paternal sides. It can be a distraction. We live in a world with so many distractions at our fingertips, and we decide to just numb a lot as well. We were talking about that a little bit before I pressed record today, that sometimes we just don't have the capacity to feel or to do the breath work or the meditation. We just don't have it, and we choose to numb, and that's okay at times too. But I'm curious, in this world that glorifies productivity and has constant distractions, how can someone start listening and tuning in again and connecting back to that something that always feels like that feeling that we all have, where it feels like something is always missing? How can we tune into that in a world of so much distraction?
Yeah, okay, wow, I'm really feeling that question. I've definitely been there many times in my life before. It's very interesting because technology is in our way, but it also is our way. I think we should never over glorify the past and being like, oh, back in the days, everything was easier or better, or we had all this knowledge, when it truly is of like, how can we remember that, but use the technologies that we have nowadays? Can we really like amplify that knowledge that has been, like accumulated and collected for so many generations? How can we amplify it? So I think there is like so much potential in this technological world as we have it, for example, in this very current moment. You and me, we sit at the two opposite ends of the world, like Tokyo and Lisbon, right? But I can see your beautiful smile. I can hear your voice. I can listen to what you're saying. And we can share it with so many more women that hopefully resonate and gain their own knowledge and insights out of these conversations. But then there's also a shadow side to all of this, of course, because in this world right now where almost our productivity shows our worth, like how much can we bring to the table, right? It's like a thing, well, what are you bringing to the table? How much can you work? How much can you produce? How much can you do? How much can you give, give, give? In all of this, actually sitting down and listening to our own body and our needs feels incredibly painful. Because if we will do that, we will at one point hear that how we are living is not sustainable, that how we are living is damaging us, and that it's painful, and that it's too much. But once we hear that, how should we ever ignore that again? So either it's going to eat us alive knowing it, or we need to make the really brave decision and change it. And change is always difficult.
Changes.
Or at least that is what we believe in, right? What you said earlier as well. Hard decisions now, easy life. Easy decisions now, hard life. So instead of listening to our bodies and actually when we are overwhelmed, just sitting down and scrolling on our phone for 5 minutes, 10, 15, half an hour until our break is over is so much easier. And for a very short moment, it gives us dopamine kick, it gives us the excitement and the connection that we think we need. But in reality, it's just separating us all even more.
I'm really taking in all that you just said. I'm curious, when you started connecting with your roots, your ancestral wisdom, when you sort of created that space away from the distractions and the numbing, what kind of learnings came through for you? I'm just so curious to hear, like, the past 6 to 12 months for you, Pia. What came through for you on the other side of dedicating your time to learning and also remembering?
Like the first thing that's right away coming up is just like the importance of rest, like
Mm,
how deeply important it is to acknowledge the need for rest, and that is not being lazy, that is being really caring actually. And we see it in nature all around us, like during winter, the plants, like the trees, they leave the leaves are falling, they're leaving the tree, the animals, they're like becoming more quiet, they're going back, some are hibernating, going into sleep. And in spring, where they're all like nature is awakening again, like here in Europe, you can see it slowly now, the birds are coming back. And like it honestly, it's one of the most magical moments when at the end of winter you go for a walk and you notice birds chirping. And it's like you notice that you have not been hearing that sound for like weeks or months, and yet here it is now. And I think like, those little moments, they're so magical, and they make me feel so connected to like my actual living surrounding, because the world around us, it is living, it is breathing, and it goes in cycles. But we as human beings, we have disconnected from that cycle. We have disconnected from the cycle of nature, and we move towards this constant productivity, like the machine. A machine can run up and down every single day, 24 hours, no problem. But we are nature, and so we need to honor our own cycles. So that was definitely the deepest takeaway.
We are nature and we need to honor our cycles. Let's go deeper there. And I really feel you with this, what you just said with we are nature, that really, really hits home in my heart. And I feel like it's so true. I really want to ask you about the cyclical planning, or how do you call it, following your cycles,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a woman. I started doing this about, I would say, 6 months ago. I really started to plan my own life around
Yeah.
my cycles, and it has changed my life, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now I'm approaching the end of menstruation, so I'm almost done with
Yeah.
bleeding, and now it's going into the kind of the spring phase, sort of with what we're talking about. I was kind of in my deep winter, and now I'm feeling like spring is coming again. I'm feeling like my body is a little less tired. I'm feeling like I want to connect more, and I'm feeling like I want to share and learn more. I'm so curious with you and this wisdom of aligning your life more with the natural flows and the natural rhythms of our body. How has that shifted your life and how you lead your life?
Yeah, so it is super fascinating because I always had a feeling that it's like somehow, like me and my partner, we're just running on different rhythms. I was like, I have a male partner, and he's always like up and go, same time every day, has the same productivity level every month. And I was just like, I don't get it, must be him.
Mhm.
And then I started to learn more about it, and I started to understand that men run on circadian rhythms. They actually, like their testosterone, their hormones, every day they peak, they rise, peak, and fall around the same time, and they are aligned to the sun. That is also why so many times, we are really referring to the sun as the masculine and the moon as the feminine energy. Because at the other side, we women, we also, of course, run on the circadian as well. We do run and like we rise with the sun in the morning, but at the same time, in addition, our second cycle is the infradian. And so our infradian rhythm, it runs according to the moon. So it goes over the whole month, and it splits up in these four bigger phases that makes it easier to understand. As you just mentioned, right now you're in your inner spring. So I'm in my luteal, so I'm like in my fall. I'm gonna go into menstruation very soon. And it is really beautiful because it really is something that I think all women have felt their whole life, that they have, and at some points in a month they have full energy capacity, and in other months it's just harder, where they feel the need of just pushing through. But now it's really the science backing that up. And we are, if we want to, even like going back now with like having the knowledge of science, that is almost like a permission slip, like, hey, what you've been feeling has been real all along. It's not on you. And we can go back more to like the cyclical living of how it used to be, yeah, centuries ago. And just to like give like a little insight for those for who it is very new and do not know what four phases there are. So we start with our inner winter, menstruation. I think that is the one phase that every woman is aware of, our period. And I was always so interested and curious about how can it be so normal to talk about period product and so shameful to actually say or admit that we are in our period. Like there's advertisement about Tampax, and there's posters, and there's everywhere, and it's so okay to talk about the things that we can spend money on hiding it, but then it is so shameful or dirty to talk about actually our sacred bleed. And what a beautiful time that is to really release, because our body has been preparing for a new life the whole month. And now it said, okay, let's shed it. We don't need it. So why hold on to it? And that is such a beautiful, beautiful moment also in our own life to really sit with ourselves and think of, hey, what is there that I no longer need? What used to serve me, but is no more? And at the same time, it also is like the time of our month where we are the most connected to just like everything that is behind the veil, to our highest self, to spirit, to energies. So if this is a time where we, instead of numbing ourselves with painkiller for period cramps, if we actually take rest, if we intentionally choose, and I understand that not everybody can just take a day off, and you don't need to, but if you just intentionally choose that on the first day of your bleed, you do not go out to the party, you do not go out and meet a lot of people, but you stay at home and you wear something cozy, something warm. You treat yourself with like a really hot, nice, nourishing soup. Put on a nice podcast and just snuggle yourself in and take care and listen to your body and ask like, hey, what support do you need? Then that can help. Like I used to have period cramps, but like now, like all my symptoms of PMS and cramps and like lower back pain, it became so little. Like the more I really intentionally work throughout the whole month and take care of my body to really prepare, I have so little pain. I have so little of, yeah, all those things that we are taught are normal. It's like, oh yeah, she's PMSing. Oh yeah, she's cramping. It's like, don't ignore her. Don't take her serious what she's saying right now. She's just PMSing. Um, when, yeah, in reality, those are not moments that we should ignore or push through.
Oh my goodness. I feel the same way during my inner winter. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel so connected to my body, my emotions, my higher self. It's a time where I feel so powerful and wise as well. This past period specifically, it was also aligning with the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how my menstruation has now aligned with the full moon because I feel so connected with the moon now. And it's such a powerful time to reflect and practice that compassion, to go inward and to release all that isn't serving me, and also to just snuggle up on my couch, rest, and eat healthy foods. Like, I agree. I don't experience as much pain as I did, especially in high school. I remember my periods were just so painful in high school. And I honestly think it's because high school was such a busy go, go, go time for me, where I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
able to take off school and just rest for a few days. Like, I had to go and do all the activities and do all of the things that we have to do. Like, now I take off those few days and I try not to plan anything. Especially, I don't like to plan big social gathering event type.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd rather be connecting with myself during my inner winter. And then when it's my inner summer, when I'm ovulating, that's when I like to put more of the social connection activities in, or when I like to go do more of an active workout, like a dance class or like a longer hike out into nature, like really use my body and feel how powerful my body is because I feel so energized. It's so nice to now plan my calendar, my monthly calendar, around what season I am in. It's so fun too. It's just really fun.
I agree. And it's such a beautiful way to just like, connect to yourself and understand yourself better as well. Because I feel like each cycle, there's always new things you can learn about yourself. So how I like to structure is then like the second phase. It's like the follicular, the inner spring. That's how you said, you feel like, oh, you're coming back to your energy, you're excited, you're blossoming, like the flower is like slowly, slowly opening again. And that is an amazing moment to really do strategical planning. Because over that time, like you'll be like, yes, what is my new project? What's my daydreaming? What am I going to work on over the next period of months? What are my highlights? What do I want to like bring into this world? Like what are you actually growing? Spring, it's a moment of growth. It's like, what are you truly growing? And what are you creating? So that is like when I usually like come out and I set intentions. And I set intentions of like this cycle. What are my priorities? Those can be small things like I remind myself to do really deep breathing, really deep, deep breaths, because maybe the last cycle has felt very stressful. And then I noticed that. Or it can be like, okay, I have this business going. How am I gonna like work towards it? When am I gonna do a pitch? When am I gonna write on it? So the spring is like a very creative time. It's really like also like amazing for like inner child healing and, really like tap into like this creativity of yours from which something can grow and which you can plan out. And then afterwards, we're going into our inner summer. That is when you're ovulating, and that is when all our hormones are on the top of the top. The whole world finds us more attractive. We have naturally like way more confidence. It's proven in the way how our hormones are spiking, our odors are changing, like the way how we're like putting out hormones. That like we actually become more attractive. So this is the moment when you want to ask for a raise. This is the moment when you want to do a pitch, because this is when you're gonna feel empowered, and the other person is more interested in listening to you on a very basic, primal human instinct. And it is so interesting. And so when I have the possibility to for example, like schedule podcasts or schedule, like moments when I'm speaking or talking, I always try to like see if I can build something around that phase. And and yeah, it really has been changing. And just as you said as well, just taking this time to go to parties, so like big events, like where you can network, where you can meet people, where you can go out and really, like interact. Because yeah, this is the moment where you can really, really harvest also, like energy. You can harvest the feeling and the experience of community, and you can really take it in, like you fill your batteries for the weeks that are ahead. Because afterwards, when we are going into our fall, the luteal phase, that is actually like split up in two phases, the first and the second half of it, because it's the longest. It goes like for 10 days, usually around. And in the first half, we are actually still extremely energetic. That is really nature helping us to meet deadlines. That is like this last, like energy push that sometimes you get. It's like, let's do it. Let's finish it. And you're highly motivated and super driven to really bring something to the close. So if, for example, you work in sales or, like anything like this is when you want to have your closing calls. This is when you want to come to an end of a big project, like wrapping up something. Because over that time, nature is really supporting you with this final energy, like this extra push to afterwards be sure that you feel safe enough into going towards your menstrual phase. Because as long as you're stressed, as long as you're, like you do not feel safe, you will not menstruate. That is why so many women or even like athletes, that like push and, work out a lot, and they are missing their periods. Because many times, as long as our body feels in stress, we do not feel safe to go into the most vulnerable place to be, which is when you're in menstruation. And so we can take advantage and then of like really like, like the luteal phase to close something and then allow ourselves to move into our menstruation. And it's really interesting because also, I mentioned earlier a little bit of like, oh, when she's PMSing, just ignore her. Like, don't take serious what she's saying. In reality, it's the exact opposite, because that is the moment when we simply do not have the capacity or the energy to take any bullshit. So that is why things come out sometimes in like a not nice manner or in a moment of it feels like overreaction. When in reality, it's really interesting because if you deep down look at all those things which make you, like reacting strongly during the time of PMS, then you notice, yeah, those things are actually you don't want them in your life, or they truly are disturbing to you. So it's like small things that can be, sometimes it's like the partner is never picking up their laundry, and it's like, yeah, it's not an actual big thing, but deep down maybe this is something that really, like, is disturbing you all month long, that you're the one picking up the socks. So then at this time of the month, you're no longer taking it. So conversation needs to be there. So instead, just like if we can become aware, we can have great conversations about our needs. So there's like, okay, what do I truly need to feel supported? What do I need from someone else? What do I need from myself? In what way do I need to speak up way before I simply react to a situation? So it really is like the clearing veil of just like, I'm not taking it. There needs to come a change. And so, yeah, every phase has their own wisdom.
Thank you so much for sharing this wisdom, Pia. The cyclical living is incredible. And I want to keep living my life always connected to my inner seasons. And I think this is also so important for men to learn about as well,
Mm,
especially if you don't need to just have a partner who's a woman, but even like brothers, siblings, fathers, please learn this about your daughters and wives as
yeah.
well. Like we will be so grateful if you can just understand which season, or even take the time to just ask, which season are you in? Like, can I do anything for you, especially if it's an inner winter season? That's a time when we can use some more support, especially around the
Mm,
house, like Pia alluded to. I definitely relate to this one. I get really upset with the little things during inner winter. It's because of this, I just don't have the capacity. I just do not have the capacity. My body is also feeling so just tired as well. So therefore, I do kind of snap a little bit at my partner. And I yelled about the socks on the floor or the on the ground. I have been there, and I think a lot of other women have. So this is like a call for not, of course, women to learn about this, but also a call for men too. Please, please. I've started teaching this to my partner, Cade, and he also just finds it interesting too. He's just like, of course, I've never like learned about this. Of course, we don't learn about this in school, but it helps so much in our relationship. It really, really helps a lot. And it just is like fun to talk about too, I think.
it's so beautiful that you have this experience with your partner, and also just how willing he is to learn and to hear and understand you more. And I'm sure that this is also something that has brought you closer together. And especially when you live or when you are together, then it is fundamentally important that he doesn't snap back at you because you don't have the capacity in the moment for maybe to do the household. Also, I mean, it is scientifically proven as well that when we are in our inner winter, as women, we need more hours of sleep. So also,
Yes.
just like you said, your body feels tired. Yes, because it also needs physically more rest. So aligning, to like those phases, it can be as simple as giving ourselves during those time, like 1 or 2 hours extra sleep, going to bed earlier, and then, avoiding anything that is cold, keeping it warm. And then when we are in our summer, we can get up earlier. We have more energy. We can do more. We can do cold plunges. Like we can get out of our comfort zone and we can challenge ourselves. That's around the
Mhm.
same. And also one thing that you mentioned, what if our fathers would know about this? Can you imagine how beautiful it will be to be raised inside of a
Mm.
household where your dad comes up and be like, hey, where are you right now in your cycle? Do you need anything from me? Can I hold you? Should I drive you something? Am I gonna pick up your favorite food?
Oh,
That
this is gonna make me
image,
cry.
how beautiful. If you were raised in a household like that, it's like you're gonna go out so confidently, also asking your partner to be there in the same way for you. You will
Yes.
be there in the same way for yourself and for your sisters, for your friends.
Yes, yes. This is so good. I love this conversation so much, Pia.
Mm.
I love how we went down this direction when you shared how we are nature, like that big insight that you developed and really, really focused on this past year whilst being more connected to your lineage and roots. I'm interested if there's any more sort of insights or maybe it could be a sacred practice or a ritual that you do for yourself in whatever season you might be in, but what you possibly have learned from the past year, and that also might be connected to your roots in the Italian Alps and just being connected to witch wisdom and the wise women. I want to hear more.
I feel like there is so much. We could talk about this forever. We could probably fill an entire retreat with practices of this together.
Oh my God, I would love.
I mean, I feel like the number one thing really was with understanding that I am nature, understanding that I do not need to be scared of nature. And personally, funny enough, I do not need to be scared to get dirty. That was a very big one for me. You know, it's like when you're out in nature, and like nowadays when we go to the park, we always sit on things because we don't want to get dirty, or and we don't want to touch this or that because, like, what if it leaves a stain, or I don't have something to wash my hands afterwards? And I'm like, well, where does this come from? Like, like this fear of being dirty. And then the same thing is also like if I think about my own body and my sexuality, like the village that I come from, like as of course connected to witch trials, it still has a very strong connection to the Catholic Church. I think we are about 4,000 people, 5,000 people in our village. We have 3 Catholic churches. We do not have any other church. We have 3 Catholic churches. So even though I was not raised in a very religious household, you can never escape it. Like it is always there. It's always around you. So like that imprint of, like being sinful, being dirty, like your sexuality being something dirty and something to be hidden and something that is only to be given to someone else, but never to be enjoyed for yourself. And that even also in connection to period blood, feeling I'm dirty when I'm bleeding. So that has actually been like a really big one to reclaiming my own purity, reclaiming that, like when I'm bleeding, when I'm touching nature, when I have soil around me, that is not something that I should be disconnected from, ashamed from, or washing off. It's actually extremely beautiful. And our period blood is the most nourishing. I mean, like, if we just think about all this blood, all the cells that we are releasing, that is the best of the best that our body has. Because over the whole month where it has been like building this cell to be fertilized, to really like create human life, what the female body is capable, in creating. We don't even think about it with our body. It's the body intelligence that just does. It's taking the best of your body and it's putting it into this cell. And then when it's not needed, we're letting it go. We're not holding on to it. And what do? We just flush it down the toilet. So like one thing that I started to do that makes me feel very connected, even in the moments when I'm in my period and maybe I don't have the possibility because I live in the city to like really, go out and be nature. I am wearing period panties. I no longer use tampons and I put my panties in water and I squeeze out the blood, and with that water, I'm watering my plants because it's an incredible plant fertilizer. So the plants that you see behind me, once a month, they are being, and I usually do it at night because I love if I just like have this moment where the moon is above me and like I have no artificial lights on. I just have light candles all around and I fill this bucket and I water my period plants, and then I take this bucket and I just go from plant to plant and give them something from it.
Oh.
I mean, you can see them behind me, like they are green.
They are beautiful and just so luscious too. So what? This is so is this something? Where did you learn this practice?
I've heard it before. I think I've actually been like at a retreat, like a women's retreat some years ago in Montenegro, where the facilitator said that she always uses it to never use the blood directly because that is too strong for the plants, but to mix it with water and then water it. And that is like an amazing fertilizer, especially when plants are doing not so well and when they're struggling. Oh, and then I had it in my mind and I completely forgot about it. And I got back to that like recently now over the last 6 months. And it actually became like a very beautiful ritual that I just do where it feels like, oh, like the plants in my own home, they're really now connected to me and connected to them. They're like, giving me something with their beauty. I give something to them back. And my home feels happy.
I love this so much.
Mm,
Please share. Can you share another practice or sacred ritual? I want more.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
This one is so interesting. I want to hear so
And
much
it's
more.
so simple as well, like it's so simple and like it goes in such a way where you don't feel like, oh, this is something dirty that you're releasing there. It's like, no, this is something nourishing. This is something that the planet actually needs. I've been reading about it, which is very interesting as well. That, women were always free bleeding. So for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, I mean, the invention of tampons and pads and it's very new. Cups, all of those things. This is very new for human history. So women have always been free bleeding into the earth, and earth is like blood is a fertilizer. So there is like, I've been reading like the spiritual pages where they were saying that it always blood used to come from two ways, the women and the womb. But so it will balance itself out, the energies of it, of the renewal and the death. But now the only blood that is touching our earth is from war. Because otherwise no woman is anymore free bleeding. So there is no more, like nourishing blood really coming into the earth. It only comes from destruction.
My
And
God.
also energetically, what can that do to the earth if we give something back?
Oh my goodness. This is so, I've never heard this before. God, this is so powerful. And it's like, oh my, yeah, like mind blowing, actually. Like, I definitely want to try this practice
Let me
of
know how it goes. Let me shoot me a picture of your plants. Make like a before and after if you do it for like a few months.
I will, because some of my plants are looking a little bit sad right now. So I'm gonna take a before and after and see.
Try it out. Yes, I cannot wait to see that.
I love it. But yes, any more
Yes.
practices or rituals?
Well, so now we have one to really let something go, right? Like with
Yes.
our period blood, we're releasing. So then maybe one of like, how do we call in? So, for example, when we are in our ovulation phase, that is right. Like that is when we are fertile. Like that is when we have an egg that is ready, where our body is on its peak form of creation. Like that is the moment when, as I said earlier, like we literally can create human life. It's just like I'm always so blown away by the body intelligence. We cannot even control those things with our mind, It is like our body is doing the most incredible, magical things. And then we still think that we are smarter and the body is just the body. And in the spiritual, like this realm, we so often it's like, oh, we transcend the body. We are the soul. And yes, we are. But we came here on earth, incarnated in human bodies for a very specific reason. Because we're co-working and collaborating with our body. The body is its own intelligence, and we are experiencing life because of it. And so, as we are in this moment of ovulation, that is like the most powerful time for manifestation. Because that is when we are there to create, and our body is basically supporting us in it. So there I love to do all different kinds of manifestation rituals, but one that I love to play with is pleasure and sex magic. You can do those things with your partner, or you can also do them on your own. They're just as potent. And it's very beautiful where you just like, you really like, you activate your body with breathing. And I have this a little bit more as a step-by-step guide also in one of my articles on Substack. So that it's like you're activating your body through breathing. And you're connecting to all your chakras and you start to caress yourself. It doesn't need to be right away, real like pleasurable in itself. With your sexual organs, it can also just be like, how can I feel pleasure on my throat? How can I feel pleasure on touching my arm or just hearing my own voice? How does it sound if I dig deep breaths or do like a very gentle moan. And as you're experiencing your body and you're letting pleasure slowly, slowly rise, like, waves coming through you, you start to very intentionally visualize what you want to manifest. And then once you have the vision, so you have the visual, you're calling in your senses. You're calling in what are you hearing? If, for example, you wanna call in a new job, let's say that. Visualize yourself in it. And then what do you hear? Or maybe you hear, like your new work colleagues asking if you want to spend lunch with them. Or maybe you hear your partner tells you how proud he is, for you to reach your dream job. It's like really like what do you hear? And then what are you smelling? What is it when you're there, when you're in the task, when you're enjoying stuff? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you feel? What are you wearing? Is it the material that you feel? Of like, are you wearing something very specific when you are in this visualization? Or, is it something around you? It's like you bring in all of your senses and then you bring in your emotion. Like, how does it truly feel? What is the true feeling behind the manifestation? Not like, oh, it's exciting, but it's like, is this new job giving you fulfillment? Is it giving you, if it's just like a race or something, is it giving you safety? Like what is the underlying behind every intention? There's an underlying emotion that needs or wants to be met. Is it creative fulfillment? Is it, that you can care and nurture someone else? Or is it like your inner child's dream? Like you really connect to the emotion that is deep, deep on the root of this intention. And as you reach that, you bring your body to peak pleasure. So as you all like connecting to all those things, you continue to caress yourself. And peak pleasure can be in breast massage, or it can go all the way to orgasm. It really is like up to you to choose and to decide what feels good in that very moment. And just you let that rise through your body. You let it rise through your chakras. As you reach peak pleasure, let it go. You send it out. You send it out. And then you stay open, because the feminine energy is that open energy that is here to receive. So once we know what we want to receive, we simply need to stay open for it.
How do we stay open for it?
Good question. Very good question. But to stay open, we need to feel safe, right? It's really interesting. If you drop in for a moment, take a few deep breaths, and really feel into your womb, or you feel into your vaginal opening. It's just we can try it right now. We just take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Have a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Gentle sigh. Now your next inhale, you're sending to your heart. Exhale. You send an inhale down to your womb. Maybe you want to place your hands to it. Give yourself and your inner woman a little smile. Gentle exhale. And with your next inhale, you arrive at your vaginal opening, at your lips down between your legs. You keep on breathing, sending gentle breaths all the way down. And then you're checking in. How does she feel? Is she open, closed, relaxed, protective, soft? She's open. She's open. And just for the experiment, imagine now, really bring the last time into your intention, into your mind. Last time you had an argument, or you received a very high bill, one that shocked you for a moment where you felt overwhelmed. Let me know when you have that. Now check in with her again. How does your vaginal opening feel?
Protective, very
Protected, very protected. Then let's bring the intention back to the safety of the space that we have here and the now. And you can shake yourself a little bit on the chair if you want. And shake that high bill or that argument away and make sure that you feel safe and open to receive again. This is how we know, are we open or are we closed? And when we tap into this moment, we can ask, what does she need to feel open? What does she need? If you stay long enough, maybe sometimes in the beginning you don't notice anything. Just check in again and you will realize that a connection is building. Then you can start listening to her, because you will always know best what you need to stay open.
Thank you so much, Pia. That was such a beautiful practice. I haven't connected to my womb in a really long time like that. And it just inspires me to take that time every single day to connect with the womb because there's just so much power and wisdom, just so much power and wisdom that lies in that chakra. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have one more question, and this is for the listeners that are new to this sort of work, new to this path,
Mm.
perhaps someone that hasn't heard of womb wisdom or cyclical living before. This is for this woman. How
Mhm.
can this woman start today to reconnect with their feminine power, with their feminine essence? What's just one simple step that she can take?
Very beautiful question. Very, very important question. Because of course, we want to make things as easy accessible as it can be. So the very first step I will suggest, and one that I still do myself often, so it never gets old no matter where you are in your journey, is stand in front of a mirror. If you have, feel like a full body mirror and look at yourself. Start to really, really look at your body. And you can do this fully dressed. You can, find different places of like how to reach your comfort level because maybe you want to start dressed and then, also over time dress yourself and feel into that and see how your own gaze is. Because maybe in the beginning, if you look at yourself and then you look into your eyes, you see judgment, you see discomfort. You have the feeling to get as fast dressed up again as you can be and just hide and close the door and never look at it. And stay with it. Stay with it and stay with your gaze. Because if you can look at yourself for long enough, you will see your love. You will see your body. You will see what you need. And you will see what your body is asking from you. And you will notice how over time your gaze is softening. So many times it starts with a very quick view in the mirror and be like, oh, my hair, or oh, my this, or oh, my that. And then we move away and we're like, whatever, don't have time for it. But what happens if you truly stay and keep on looking at yourself with your own eyes? And you will go out seeing yourself differently.
So powerful. Thank you so much, Pia, for sharing these incredible practices, these rituals, for sharing so much wisdom and your heart. I know that my listeners will want to connect with you further. So, where can be a good way that they can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I would love that. Everybody that wants to reach out is very welcome to do so. I've recently started my Substack, so Nina will add the link to it. It's called Biohacking Witch, and that is where I'm sharing the most knowledge. That is where I go into storytelling, long content, where I share step-by-step rituals, and I publish something every week, depending on how inspired or what is coming in, once or twice a week even. And yeah, so like that is where you can really like tap into the most important sharing. And if you feel the call to reach out, share anything from your side, or get in touch with me, please do so with Instagram. I'm not so active in posting there at the moment, but I am definitely checking my messages regularly. So yeah, that is where you can reach out to me. I would love to have more conversations like this and just spread experiences. Thank you so much, Nina, for having me on today. I feel so excited and happy, and I feel so warm in my heart and my womb, but my very open, very safe, very comfortable. So thank you for hosting such a beautiful podcast today and having me in your space.
Beautiful, Pia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will link all of that in the show notes so you can go follow and connect with Pia. I have just read all of her Substack articles with her biohacking witch Substack page. It's phenomenal. Please go there. And when I read your writing, Pia, I can hear your voice. I can literally hear your voice while I read it. And I also like feel your power and wisdom. And I think that's so hard to do with writing because I can tell it's really coming from your soul and your heart. So definitely go read Pia's Substack. It's incredible. And yes, my heart feels just so warm. My womb feels just so connected with and open. Thank you for those practices. And I think it's going to really, really help listeners that just want those simple steps to take with wherever you're at. If you're just starting this work or if you're deeper into this work, I think the practices that Pia shared today can meet you where you're at. And that was just such a gift. Really, that was such a gift for you to share those. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Pia.
Thank you. Right back.
And I hope that everyone is having a beautiful day or morning or evening, wherever you are living in the world. And we will see you back on an episode next time on The Light of Insight. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.